thank you to our guests. Thank you for being here. I know we have some folks here today, maybe for the first time, so I appreciate your coming to be in our presence today. I hope this is a time that you can draw closer to God and closer to one another. We have a season we call a season of Lent that we're taking care of right now. This is a season of preparation as we get ready for the Passion Week of Christ and his going in Jerusalem and then going to the cross. And so it's an important time that we have. And so there's a devotional guide that I've encouraged a lot of folks to receive. We have extra copies of it on the green table in the back. So I would like to encourage folks to pick up an extra copy. We've got an abundant supply now, so if you wanted to get one for a friend, it's a wonderful devotional guide to have something to start each day with, and it follows a scripture that has a lot to do with the scriptures we study here in our worship service. Along those lines, we also have these coin boxes that are back there on the green table. We're collecting money, especially, we put these on like our table at home, and they're used as a way to raise funds to end hunger in America. So there's a lot to be done with this. We have a program called the Society of St. Andrew that our church is very close with, and it would be a great opportunity for you to place this on your table at home as a reminder to put a little coin in there, some change. It also takes the folding kind of money. If you got that green stuff, that's good. That fits in here. So do checks. Checks work really well. And so what we want you to do is you can bring this box back and lay it on the communion rail here on Palm Sunday, which is April the 9th. So that would be a good time to work with that. We also have these envelopes for that as well. So you can put a check in there, so checks or coins. But it's a great way to teach your families about the importance of giving something up for the season of Lent, but also taking something on. We have, speaking of food, we have Oasis dinner coming back this next Wednesday night. Fried shrimp, I believe. So be sure and sign up for that if you'd like to be here, if you could be here Wednesday night for that. Now, this Friday and Saturday, where's Rod Alleman? Is Rod around? Rod, stand up, Rod. Everybody, yeah. Are you sure? Yeah. Make sure you wave. Everybody see Rod. He's leading, and we got a lot of people from this church that help every year with this. But this Friday and Saturday, we will start something called Great Days of Service. It's neighbors helping neighbors, picking up our paintbrushes and our hammers and our lawn tools and going out and helping in the community. We've got about 20, 25 homes of people in this community, many of them needing special help with their homes. And so we want to be there for them. And so it's this Friday and Saturday, as well as the following Friday and Saturday. And this Saturday morning, they're having a kickoff breakfast at Plymouth Park United Methodist Church. So if you'd like to help, if you want to get out there either this Friday or Saturday, if you can give half a day, a whole day, 4 days, whatever you can give, we would really welcome your support as we give the love of God, the bright beacon of God's love that we are beyond this church into the community. So that would be helpful. See Rod after service today, and you can do that. I also want to tell you that the Mission Possible kids will be meeting tonight, this afternoon, and they're collecting new washcloths and travel-size soap to send as bath bunnies to Guatemala with our team that's going down there. So if you wanted to give those washcloths or travel-size soap, that would be good. And we're inviting a large number of school children to come to our church here for our annual Easter egg hunt. And we're going to have a need here. So the need I'm going to express for you is to bring wrapped candy and small trinkets to stuff in our eggs. There's a box in the lobby. If you have those things that you could bring, they would be a blessing to us. So we have a pocket verse that we have, and it's a very familiar verse from a very familiar passage in the Bible, the 23rd Psalm. So just stay in your seats, but if we could read this together, the pocket verse, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Psalm 23:6.
We have the Call to Worship by Logan Jones.
Please join me in the call to worship. Come now, let us reason together, says the Lord. Through your sins are like scarlet, they shall be like snow. They'll be like crimson, they shall become like wool. Come, let us walk in the light of the Lord, that he may teach us his ways, and that we may walk in his paths. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
You may be seated. Could you please take out an insert in your bulletin? Today we're doing something a little bit different. The melody you heard in the bells, hopefully, is also the same melody we will be singing at this hymn, My Song is Love Unknown. As you can see, it'll first be introduced by the oboe, played by Ryan Estes, here as our guest. And the first verse I will sing as a solo. The second verse is just organ, so you can sit back and enjoy. Then we will all stand for the third verse. I will give you the signal, we'll all stand for the third verse. So you can see the third verse is all, the fourth verse is men. And just as a note for the sound booth, because I just made this change, that Ralph will lead the men on verse 4 from the pulpit. Just make sure that. Verse 5 is women and children, verse 6 is all.
age and spite. He made the lame to run, the kiss blind to sight. Sweet injuries, yet they are these, then selfish pleas and bent in lies.
My voice and needs will have, my dear Lord, may the ways of murderer they seek, the Prince of Life they slay, yet cheerful he to suffering goes, that he his foes from thence might free. Here might I stay and sing those stories so divine, never was love taking, never was free like thine. This is my friend, in whose sweet praise I all my days could only spend.
Amen. So before we get into the portion where we give our concerns to God, I'll share something with you. I had a dream a couple days ago, and it really was a nightmare. And it startled me so much that it woke me out of my sleep. And I didn't go to sleep, or I didn't go back to sleep for another hour. That's how scared I was. I haven't dreamed like that since I was a kid. And as I was laying in the bed, I said, well, you know, I'm going to call my mama, because I'm a mama's boy. So I called my mom, and it was late. I think it was like around 2 or 3. I think it was 3 in the morning. The phone rang 2 or 3 times, and she picked it up. And she immediately knew it was me because she knows I'm probably the only person that's going to call her late in the hour. And the first thing she said was, yes, Christopher. And I said, well, how do you know it was me? She was like, it's just a mother's intuition. And I said, well, you know, Mom, I had a nightmare, and she asked me what it was about, and I told her. And the next thing she said was, well, did you pray about it? And I'm like, no, I didn't do that. And she says, well, I'm tired, so I think I need you to do that. And I said, all right, Mama. And she said, all right, good night, and hung the phone up. You know, and then I thought about calling my dad, and I'm like, well, if I call him, he's probably going to be upset that I woke him up and it wasn't an emergency. So I didn't call him. But as I laid in bed and couldn't go back to sleep, and I was that scared, I got up and kind of walked around for a while, and it took me a while to pray about it. And in the very last moments of that hour was when I got on my hands and knees and prayed to God about that dream. And I say this now that my dad is 12 hours away. My mom is like 3 hours away and miles away from me. And there are those moments where I know for some of us, our parents are not here and we can't call on them. And for some of us, we actually can. But my mom reminded me in that moment that I can call on her, but who I really need to be calling on is God. Amen? So when you pray this morning, listen to what God is trying to tell you. And as we pray together, I pray that you are praying in your spirit and in your heart for all of those concerns. Amen? Let us pray. Dear holy, heavenly, and merciful Father, we thank you for bringing us here this morning. We know, Lord, that we take things for granted because it's an everyday thing for us, whether it's waking up and being able to brush our teeth, or able just to have a toothbrush and toothpaste, being able to sit down and eat oatmeal or a cereal or have a glass of orange juice. Just simply having it, Lord, we take those things for granted. And in this moment, we thank you for that, Father God. And even we take our life for granted as well. Just being able to breathe air, being able to step outside and do the things that we want to do, Father God. We thank you for just giving us life. Lord, we thank you for those who are sitting next to us, whether they are friends or loved ones. We thank you for them. Father God, we thank you for this church. We thank you for the many ministries that we are doing in the community of Irving. And whether it is a small impact or a large impact, we just thank you for allowing us to be impactful for those around us, Father God. And Lord, as we are prepared to worship you, to praise you, and to be in your holy and sanctified presence, I pray, Lord, that our hearts are open to receive this message this morning from Reverend Wallace. I pray that our hearts are open to receive whatever you are trying to give us and whatever we are so desperately trying to hear from you and get answered. And if it is not in our time, we know that it will be in yours, Father God. And once again, we thank you for giving us your only Son, who died on the cross for us, who took on our sins, who took on our concerns, who took on our nightmares so that we won't have to have them anymore. And one day, Lord, when we all come together hand in hand, when we all are able to sing a new song to you, I pray that we will do just as your disciples did. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth that it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Hear now the word of God.
So he came to a Samaritan city called Sychar, near the plot of ground that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired out by his journey, was sitting by the well. It was about noon. A Samaritan woman came to draw water, and Jesus said to her,
Give me a drink.
His disciples had gone to the city to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him,
How is it that you, a Jew, ask a drink of me, a woman of Samaria?
Jews do not share things in common with Samaritans.
If you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying to you, Give me a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water.
Sir, you have no bucket, and the well is deep. Where do you get that living water? Are you greater than our ancestor Jacob, who gave us the well, and with his sons and his flocks drank from it?
Everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again, but those who drink of the water that I will give them will never be thirsty. The water that I will give will become in them a spring of water gushing up to eternal life.
Sir, give me this water, so that I may never be thirsty or have to keep coming here to draw water.
Go, call your husband and come back.
I have no husband.
You are right in saying, I have no husband, for you have had 5 husbands, and the one you have right now is not your husband. What you have said is true.
Sir, I see that you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you say that the place where people must worship is in Jerusalem.
Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you will worship the Father, neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You will worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, for salvation is from the Jews. But the hour is coming, and is now here, when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth, for the Father seeks such as these to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth.
I know that the Messiah is coming. When he comes, he will proclaim all things to us.
I am he, the one who is speaking to you.
Just then his disciples came. They were astonished that he was speaking with a woman, but no one said, "What do you want?" or "Why are you speaking with her?" Then the woman left her water jar and went back to the city. She said to the people,
Come and see a man who told me everything I have ever done. He cannot be the Messiah, can he?
They left the city and were on their way to him. Meanwhile, the disciples were urging him.
Rabbi, eat something.
I have food to eat that you do not know about.
Surely no one has brought him something to eat.
My food is to do the will of him who sent me and to complete his work. Do you not say 4 months more, then comes the harvest? But I tell you, look around you and see how the fields are ripe for harvesting. The reaper is always receiving wages and is gathering fruit for eternal life, so that sower and reaper may rejoice together. For here the saying holds true, one sows and another reaps. I sent you to reap that for which you did not labor. Others have labored, and you have entered into their labor.
Many Samaritans from that city believed in him because of the woman's testimony. He told me everything I have ever done. So when the Samaritans came to him, they asked him to stay with them, and he stayed there 2 days. And many more believed because of his word. They said to the woman,
It is no longer because of what you say that we believe, for we have heard for ourselves, and we know that this is truly the Savior of the world.
The word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God.
The ushers come forward. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we love you and we thank you. Lord, I pray that as we are about to partake and give of our financial offering, that we are also giving of ourselves to the body of Christ, to the body of this church, and to this community as a whole. And all the children of God sit together. Amen.
Would you all please rise for the doxology?
And praise the
Let's remain standing and join together in the Apostles' Creed. And what I would want you to do is to don't do it from memory. I want you to read it on the screen so that those who are not familiar with it would feel at home. Let's read it together, please. I believe in God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, who was conceived by the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, dead, and buried. The third day he rose from the dead. He ascended into heaven and sitteth at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. From thence he shall come to judge the quick and the dead. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and a life everlasting. Amen. Please be seated.
Do I have any kids today? What's up, church? We do this every time. What's up, church? What's up, kids? All right, how's everybody's spring break? Awesome, good. What did everybody do?
I went to the zoo.
You went to the zoo? Which zoo did you go to? Did you go to the Fort Worth Zoo? And Six Flags. So we spent a lot of time outside, right?
We went to
Kansas? There's nothing in Kansas. All right, so how many of y'all played outside? Okay. Did y'all run around? Did y'all jump around? Played soccer? So you did a lot of running in soccer. You had a soccer game? So we had soccer games. What else? A lot of soccer. What else? Softball practice. You rode your bike. All right, so all these things are outside, and all these things require some type of physical activity, right? They require energy, right? Okay, so when you do these things, do y'all get thirsty? No, you don't get thirsty? When you run, you don't get thirsty? All right, so what do you do when you get thirsty? Drink water? Okay, now don't lie to me. What do you do when you get thirsty? All right, so whenever I was a kid and I would go play outside, I thought Dr. Pepper was the cure-all to thirst. So I would go outside and I would run around and I would run inside, and I'd always be at Grandma's house. And I would run inside and grab a Dr. Pepper and another one, and I would always wonder why I was still thirsty. Do y'all ever do that? No, well, y'all must be a lot smarter than me. So, all right, so I'm going to read you a scripture verse, and it is about the woman in the well, but it is John 4:13, and it says, Jesus answered, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again. So like that's like me drinking the Dr. Pepper. Whoever drinks this Dr. Pepper, you're going to be thirsty again because it's not water. But whoever drinks the water I give him will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give him will become in him a spring of water welling up eternal life. So how many of y'all get thirsty and drink water? How many of y'all go through hard times and get Jesus? How many of y'all go through hard times and get Jesus? Your spiritual thirst, if you want to call it that. Not a lot of hands. Church, how about y'all? Still not a lot of hands. Huh. Interesting, right? So y'all aren't the only ones. Church does it too. So Jesus said, whoever drinks this water will never thirst again. So why don't we drink the water? A lot of blank faces. Are we scared of the water? No? So then why don't we just jump in it? Okay. It didn't have to be physical water for you to jump in it. When you do your homework, do you just dive into your homework? Have you ever heard anybody say that? Yeah, you've heard somebody say it, though, so. Why are we so scared of Jesus' water? Why do we think? If we're not scared, then why don't we drink his water? Because you don't know about it? Okay, that works. It's just a question. All right, so I stand up here today to tell you to drink the water. It's kind of scary. But let Jesus love you and drink his water, and you will have eternal life. You will never thirst again. Think about that. How would you like to never have to drink water again? Only a couple of you. A lot of y'all like drinking water then, not me. All right, so here's the deal. So when you go back to school this week, is everybody ready to go back to school? Yeah, exactly. So you're going to be needing that water when you go back to school. All right, so when you go back to school this week, when you're complaining to your parents, Mom, I don't want to go to school, I'm sick. Or I don't want to do this homework because I have a lot of homework. Or when you ask your teacher, hey, when is the lunch bell? Or hey, when are we going to go outside and play? Right? So when y'all are doing that, and y'all are complaining, and y'all are being difficult, because I'm very difficult at times, think about that water. Think about Jesus, and think about, does that water complain? No. Does that water do anything? No, that water is there for you, right? So go to the water and drink it and stop complaining and cry out to Jesus and help you through it, right? Everybody got it? All right, let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for these kids. I pray as we go back to school, though we may not like it, I pray that it's fun. And I pray that we get through these next 11 weeks and we get to June 1st in one piece. And I pray as these kids are enduring the STAR test that you give them the knowledge that they need to get through it. And I pray that their spiritual thirst is quenched, Lord. I pray that you as a living water fill them up to the top, overflowing. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
So the song we're going to do today is called There is a River. You'll recognize it from our text today. It goes almost verbatim. So feel free to sing along if you recognize it, or after we've done it a few times, feel free to join us. woman was drawing from the well. Her life was ruined and wasted. Her soul was bound for hell. Oh, but then she met the Master. He told her of her sin. He said, "Child, if you'll drink this water, you'll never thirst again." There is a river that flows from deep within. There is a fountain that frees the soul from sin. Come to this water. There is a vast supply. There is a river that never shall run dry. There is a river that flows from deep within. There is a fountain that frees the soul from sin. Come to this water. There is a vast supply. There is a river that never shall run dry.
I want to say thank you to the people that rang bells, and Ryan and Yanuk and Christopher. Thank you for blessing us, reminding us, well, have you talked to Jesus? It's so true. And it's so very blessed. And students, you being involved with the Readers Theater, and I hope that it happens again down the road for sure. On your bulletin cover, there's a picture. And on the screen, there's the theme slide. And I think that all of us can relate to that individual from time to time, if not today. I would imagine that my colleague and friend, Pete Adrian, feels that way. You see, Pete got a call this past week that his 43-year-old son, Reed, had been killed in an auto accident. Pete is a happy-go-lucky individual. He's one that has a spirit about him that when you get around in a room with him, he just exudes the love of Christ. And as this word came out, there were Facebook posts and prayer concerns that were placed in the place for him and his wife Maggie and the family and friends. And I can imagine that Pete and Maggie both, but Pete in particular, since I knew him so well, was literally in that position of sitting on the floor and putting his head to his knees. And maybe even crying out, "Why, oh God, why?" But then out of that depths of despair, what did Pete do? His posts that came on Facebook were ones of hope and promise, ones of saying, let's get the gospel out to the world, to all of us. To know that Christ will give us eternal life because we don't know when our last breath will be. And there was an urgency of that message in grace, and that message of grace that was given by Pete even in the worst of times. You see, sometimes, friends, it's more like a lonesome valley where things are so stark in our life, where we, like Jesus, are tempted beyond our abilities, and yet he did not sin, but yet we will. Where he was challenged to turn rocks into bread, to become one who would worship Satan, and he turned away. And he lived through that lonesome valley to become Savior of the world. Or there was that same time where that same Jesus stood before Nicodemus and he reminded us that God so loved the world. You see, regardless, someone said to me not too long ago, right? In fact, it was the Sunday after last week's sermon, that when they saw this image, they saw the marks and scars, but what they really saw was the light of Christ coming into that person and touching them from head to toe, and to have it shine forth that God loved them in spite of everything. We were reminded about being born again, and Pete talked about that in his posts about this idea of God loving you so much and there's nothing you can do about it, and he died for you. And he wants to take your marks and scars and renew them into a fresh spirit. And so we have our empty cross. You see, brothers and sisters, I had someone at the end of the service come walking up to me and greeted me and said good morning, and then said this: "Jack, remember, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." That's the word that I got. The word was touched on their hearts, and they came right back and said, "Wait a minute. Remember, God does not give us fear. And so we should fear less." We do it out of our pocket verse. "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Psalm 23:6. I can imagine Christopher in that nightmare and in talking with your mother and tempted to talk to your dad, and your mother says, "Talk to the real daddy." And I'm sure at some point you may have heard that verse. Surely goodness and mercy will follow you, Christopher, all the days of your life, and you will dwell in the house of the Lord. Let us pray. So, Lord, we just sang with the band. There is a river that flows from you from above. And that you are a fountain that's filled with your great love. And you ask us to come to this water. Because there is a vast supply. That this river will never, ever, ever run dry. So, Lord, let us come to the river that supplies all our needs in this time together. Amen. So we come into this time where we talk about fear less, and it's a love unknown. And yet there's a story behind this that I think is appropriate for us to remember. You see, I believe that it's important for us to understand what Jesus was doing. You see, Jesus was fearless and he was intentional in his travels. This immediately followed the scripture from last week where Jesus was talking to Nicodemus in the shadows of the night. And after he was finished hanging with the disciples and hanging with people there and having dinner together and so forth, there was this time where he was called to go from Jerusalem, and we have a cursor from Jerusalem to go up to Galilee. And normally, the way the route would be is we would go out east on this journey, and we go through Jericho, and then we would go and cross the river and then grab this other road and go all the way up the east bank of the Jordan and follow it all the way up into the area, all the way around into the Galilee. And the reason that that trip was made from that extension, that extensive journey, was so that the Jews would not have any contact with the Samaritans. I remember my first ride into New Orleans with the kids. We were getting ready to move. We wound up in a land that was forbidden in our eyes. We made a wrong turn off of I-10 and went into the 9th Ward. The 9th Ward back then, a lot of it's gone now. But it was scary. I was glad it was daytime. I was telling Christopher they did have sofas out on the sidewalk. We were the only ones that were the minority in that area. If we had the chance and I didn't make the wrong turn, I would have avoided that area. You see, that's the way the Jews treated Samaria. It was a place to avoid. These were people, the Samaritans were people who intermarried with heathens from Babylonia. They were what we would at times, as I grew up, I knew them as half-breeds. They were mixed, not just physically, but they were mixed in their relationship to who God was. A polytheistic group of people. Many gods intermarrying with ones who believed in one God. They were, even as one person claimed them to be, unclean dogs. Jesus had the opportunity to go out to the east and go up the Jordan and enjoy life in Galilee. Instead, he was intentional and he traveled all the way from Jerusalem. A day's travel. At noontime, he shows up in the town of Sychar. A town and an area that Jacob had given in his deathbed to his son Joseph, who lived in Egypt. A town and an area where Joseph's body was brought back from Egypt. A place where Jacob's well had been dug to be able to provide living water, so to speak, to his family and his beasts. You know, a gathering place in the middle of town. I had a gathering place that I experienced in Mount Vernon. It was called, if I have the right name, the Dairy Bar. If you ever go to Mount Vernon, either breakfast or lunch, go to the Dairy Bar. When you go inside in the front door and you order your food and you go to sit down, there is a table in the middle of the Dairy Bar. And it says, the table of knowledge overhead. It's where the people gathered together and shared the stories of the town and the gospel. It was their gospel. The gossip of the town. You see, that's exactly what Jacob's well became. It became the center part, almost like a square, a central place where people gathered and they shared their lives with one another. And Jesus arrives there with his disciples at noontime. Kind of like arriving at Joe's or PJ's on Friday morning. Haven't been there yet on Friday morning. Someday will be. When Jesus shows up at noon, the story says that there's no one there except for a Samaritan woman. An outcast, an outsider. Jesus, in his human frailty, he's exhausted, he's tired, he's hot. He's trying to get some rest. And he runs into a Samaritan woman. The disciples had left him to go get something to eat in town. And Jesus begins to have an inner exchange with an outcast. She had to show up in the daytime because she wasn't allowed to be with the women in the morning or the evening. In fact, I wouldn't doubt that as she strolled down, as the women are going up and she strolls down midday, they're whispering to one another about the Samaritan woman. And Jesus intentionally stops at Jacob's well and engages in a conversation with the most unlikely and unwanted person around. You see, Jesus was fearless in meeting with an outcast. I wonder if it's the same for us. With all of her guilt and shame, her sense of loneliness, all the tangled relationships that haven't worked out. And Jesus is intentional and meets her right where she is. Fearless. And asks for a drink. And the one who's trying to provide a drink to this man, which eventually becomes a prophet, maybe even the Messiah for her, is the one that now offers to her living water. You see, brothers and sisters, this particular story, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't have to be the Samaritan woman. It could be the Samaritan guy. I think it can be us. In fact, I would say that it is us. And he's constantly reaching out to us. How would you say it in Spanish? Living water. Let's see. Vivando agua? I don't know. Huh? Via agua. Vida agua. Living water. Water that soothes the soul. The woman who had love all wrong in her life comes to one who has this unknown love that she begins to experience. A love that wraps her heart and holds on to it tightly and says, now is the time, not just noon, but now is the time to drink this living water. But her story goes on and says that they race off. They run. She runs off and she begins to tell the rest of the folks. And you can imagine the outcast going back into town, telling a story about this man who's a prophet. And could he be the Messiah? But she has such an excitement of who this man is in her life. And she's starting to understand this idea of drinking water. She cannot keep herself from sharing it. That's not unlike us, or it should be. That if we drink this living water, that we go and share it with someone else and not just quench our own thirst. You see, if Jesus was fearless in sharing who he was, and then she captured who he was, and then she went and told somebody else, and this is thousands of years ago, by golly, that's our responsibility too. That's what we should be encouraged to do. There was a time when someone told Pete Adrian about the living water. And that living water continued to be, I guess it would be drank by him, is the word. And he brought it into himself and his life was changed. He became a pastor. All of us are ministers of the gospel. And he began to share that living water with others. And even in the pits of despair, even in the lonesome valley, even in the times of the darkness of the soul, he was able to share the living water with someone else. A cold cup of water. See, what happens is, for all of us, when that love unknown becomes known in our hearts, brothers and sisters, we need to share it. We need to share it through the giftedness and the abilities and the language that God has given us, so that we're able to not only just come to the waters and come to the river and drink, but to give it to someone else. You see, I really believe this question of, do you want to fear less? Do you? Do you really want to fear less? Then how about drinking the living water? But I wonder, do we have the desire to share that living water? Do we have the desire to share that love unknown? Do we? You see, the song that has been repeating through our minds and our hearts today has verses like this. My song is love unknown, my Savior's love to me, love to the loveless shown, that they might lovely be. Oh, who am I that for my sake? Oh, who am I that for my sake my Lord should take frail flesh and die? Here I might stand and sing of him my soul adores. Never was love, dear King, never was grief like yours. This is my friend in whose sweet praise, this is my friend in whose sweet praise I all my days would gladly spend. Fear less through love unknown. Fear less through love unknown. I believe this in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, choir. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, all of us who participated in worship today and reminded us of the beauty of drinking deep of that living water that only Jesus Christ can provide. And also, as Jack said, to be willing to share that living water with those beyond. We're going to sing a favorite from all the Billy Graham Crusades, Just As I Am, Without One Plea, number 357 in your hymnals. And as we sing that, I just wanted to share with you that this communion rail is open. We would welcome you to come down and drink deeply of that living water. Just as I am, may we rise and sing.
And verses 1, 5, and 6, if you're using a hymnal.
as we go forth into the world, drink deeply of that living water, that agua vida that he provides for us. And be willing to share it wherever you go. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.